Every year, when the littles bring up the stars, I have trouble finishing the blessing of the manger. It just stabs me in the heart in such a good and wonderful way to think of the wonder of I love this chapel, the wonder of this space, and to think of their innocence and their joy and all coming up. So, what are we doing this evening? This evening we are remarking that those littles, all their dependence they have on you. The way that some of you had to help them along, the way that you show them the way that they go, do I really get to go up there? All that dependence that they have, all of that interdependence upon so many who love them and care for them, the joy they have in those that they trust who love them, their need for relationship well beyond their own awareness of it. That was Jesus. That was God. I invite you during this short little message to contemplate the icon. If you look at me, I won't be upset, but I invite you to gaze on the icon. There he is, clinging, cuddling, snuggling to his mother in all of his dependence. God entrusted God's own self to human care. God entrusted himself to the care of a particular mother and of a father figure. God took on all of what it is to be a human, to be dependent before you're even aware of what any of it means, to grow into awareness and consciousness, full human development, all the stages of what it is to be a human. Pick up where we left off on Wednesday evening, simply with the idea that God came among us and was with us and became a part of all that we experience. What we just read is an excerpt from the prologue, what's called the cosmic prologue to John's Gospel. And in it, we heard the wonderful little thing, the Word became flesh. Now, flesh is not a word we tend to use much, but it is actually kind of hard to find a other word in this moment that works. Elizabeth Johnson is a Catholic theologian who's written about this. And she said, note that the prologue does not say that the Word who existed before creation became a human being. That would be anthropos, or a man, that would be anir, but flesh, sarx, a broader reality. Sarx in the New Testament has multiple meanings. It can have negative connotations, signifying the world as sinful, selfish, opposed to the Spirit. In other contexts, it simply conveys the finite quality of the material world, which is fragile, vulnerable, perishable, transitory, the opposite of divinity clothed in majesty. All the emphasis in this gospel text is on the entry of the Word, who is God, into the mortal realm of earthly existence. She then goes on to talk about how in the Greek world, in which John was writing in Greek and speaking into, how folks in that world who had a strong spirit world, physical world separation, that they would have been horrified by the affirmation that the Word became flesh. The idea that God could become a part of a world that hurts and wounds and dies and is never perfect was something that they would have found profoundly disturbing and offensive. She points out that this takes the ancient theme of God's dwelling among the people of Israel and picks that theme up and takes it even further. God dwelling with us as one of us. She says that in truth, yes, the type of sarx, the type of flesh that the Word became was precisely human flesh. Homo sapiens, however, does not stand alone, but is part of an interconnected whole. Scientific knowledge today is repositioning our species as an intrinsic part of the evolutionary network of life on our planet, which in turn is a part of the solar system, which itself came into being as a later chapter of cosmic history. So we have this thing called the cosmic prologue, this hugely big picture view. And what's amazing about God coming among us in the person of Jesus is that it truly works at the hugely big picture view, and it truly works at the deeply personal, speaking to me, speaking to you, speaking to and touching each person level. It works all the way through. It's fantastic. As we said on Christmas Eve, Jesus was willing to enter life as vulnerable with everything to learn. Now, I hope that you are in the process of educating yourself with the best Christmas book to come out this year. And you all know what I'm talking about. We have the rock star's parents in the room tonight. They must be proud. What a great book it is. My favorite poem, I've said this before, is Jesus' First Steps. So Jesus has everything to learn. The Virgin guides his right side here, his left the old man leads. They guide the boy who rules with supreme power the earth, the stars, and seas. Which is the greater wonder, do you think? That this wee boy could rule over the world, or that, like this, he wanted to be led? Elspeth describes for us some of the words that Marta Martina chose. And she walks us through how there's real emphasis for the reader of Latin who can catch this on the paradox that the one with supreme power would not only be willing to be led and sort of ruled over, but even would want to. Why would he want to? Because he wanted in love to draw near to us. He wanted in love to experience what we experience. And even more than that. This is just good basic Christmas theology. St. Gregory of Nazianzus, ancient theologian who was one of the three who together were able to put together what we say in the Nicene Creed. They were the ones, the three of them especially, were able to lead the church through finding a way to talk about Jesus as being fully God and fully human and yet one person. It was the most difficult thing that early church faced. Was we know he was a human, but we know he was the human reset, and he was more than just human. He was God. And how do we talk about that? Because he wasn't two different people who could flip a switch and flip back and forth from one to the other. Gregory Nazianzus and two others were the leading theologians who helped to work that out. Gregory of Nazianzus said, "Whatever is not assumed cannot be saved or made whole." Speaking of Jesus. In other words, if Jesus didn't bring it into himself, then when he died, it couldn't die with him because he didn't have it. It's brilliant, but it's simple. It's actually really simple. It's not a statement of judgment. It's just an observation. It's just kind of simple reasoning. If he didn't have it, then when he died, he didn't have it. So he couldn't kill it. And when he came back to life to make a fresh start, he couldn't save it and make it new and whole because he didn't have it. Pretty simple, but pretty profound. So Jesus chooses to come among us in flesh. to have to learn everything, to have to experience the things we experience, because he loves us and his whole created world enough to want to renew it all. Gregory of Nazianzus' thing is brilliant, but it's a double negative, isn't it? If he doesn't assume it, it can't be saved. What if we flip it around to a positive? How would we say that positively? Whatever is taken on by Jesus will be healed and saved. Anything brought into Jesus, given over to Jesus, taken on to Jesus, will be healed and saved. Now, I'll never, ever, as hard as I try, I will never perfectly give my entire self to Jesus, but I'm still, my entire self's going to get healed and saved and made new in my authentic self. All those things that are so wonderful that we talk about them enough that I could run through them that fast, and that's kind of taking them for granted. The point is this: the more of ourself we give to Jesus, the more easily he can take it on himself, and the more easily he can make it new. Let him assume all of who you are. Open up all of who you are. Trust him. He wanted to experience everything we experience in order to bring us through and make us through. Let's pray, friends. Thank you, Lord. I invite you to just take a moment and respond to anything that the Lord may be by his Spirit saying to you in this moment.